Namaskar, I am Dr. Navdeep Singh Bains, Associate Professor in Botany, Government Dungar PG College, Bikaner, Rajasthan. And today I am going to present my lecture on vacuolar storage of secondary metabolites, because many secondary metabolites are non-specific toxins and plants need to evolve highly efficient detoxification system to avoid ototoxicity. So, how these secondary metabolites stored in the vacuole in inert form when not in use by plants will be explained in this presentation. Secondary metabolites frequently contain reactive nucleophilic groups such as carboxylic acids, amino groups and hydroxyl groups. You can see negative charge on these functional groups, which can take part in spontaneous reactions and thus form unwanted side products. To prevent this, the reactive group can be alkylated, and the most typically by methylation. This derivation has the additional consequence of making the metabolite more hydrophobic, which may be important in determining its biological activity. Subsequently, if required, the methyl group can be selectively removed following its hydroxylation by mixed function oxidases. These oxidases can hydrolyze the secondary metabolites to reuse the plants, and the majority of methylations are catalyzed by methyl transferases using S-adenosyl L-methionine, the source of activated methyl group. As with the mixed function oxidases, plants contain a diverse range of substrate specific methyl transferases, all composed of a single polypeptide of molecular mass in the range of 40 to 45 kilodalton, and only a limited number of methyl transferases have been purified to date, and one of the better characterized enzyme is caffeic acid 3-oxo-methyl transferase. This methyl transferase has attracted particular interest due to its involvement in lignification, as it protects the 3-hydroxy group of the phenyl propanoid from uncontrolled reactions. Many of the metabolites formed from the flavonoid branch of the polypropanoid pathway are selectively methylated, and this has an important role in defining their ultimate biological activities. And how these secondary metabolites are stored and which enzyme is used to do this function. Generally these are glycosyl transferases, and how these glycosyl transferases work I will explain in this slide. Because many secondary metabolites are non-specific toxins, plants have had to evolve highly efficient detoxification system to avoid ototoxicity. The most widespread of these toxification reaction is glycosylation, which normally renders the secondary metabolites or a glycone water soluble and inactive. We can use the term a glycone for secondary metabolites also. A variety of nucleophilic functions can be glycosylated, including amino, hydroxyl, thiol and carboxylic groups, and a variety of sugars are used, commonly glucose, galactose, xylose and rhamnose. The conjugation of a toxic hydroxy containing secondary product with glucose is shown in next slide. I will show you in next slide using uridine 5-phosphoglucose UDP glucose as the activated conjugating sugar. UDP derivatives are the most commonly employed sugar donors, although some sugar esters of secondary metabolites can arise from transesterification from other esters. Now you can see in this slide the flow chart which shows how glycosyl transferase enzyme make these secondary metabolites inert to store in this vacuole. And in this case, the important role of UDP glucose, and UDP glucose means uridine 5-diphosphoglucose, with the help of glucosyl transferase enzyme and glycosyl transferases. And this toxin is secondary metabolite or a glycon with hydroxyl group. The conjugation of a toxic hydroxy containing secondary product with glucose is shown using uridine 5-diphosphoglucose UDP glucose as the activated conjugating sugar. And these UDP derivatives are the most commonly employed sugar donors, although some sugar esters of secondary metabolites can arise from trans-esterification from other esters. And conjugation reaction with UDP sugar utilize the glycosyl transferases. As I stated earlier, these glycosyl transferases enzymes can help in the detoxification process of these secondary metabolites. And these cytosolic enzymes consist of complex family of isoenzymes showing specificity towards both their A-glycan substrate and UDP sugars. In all cases, glycosylation can consist of conjugation with a single sugar or can involve multiple sugars. It can add with single sugar or can add with multiple sugars also, or can involve multiple sugars with each glycosidic residue being added subsequently. And an additional important modification is the esterification of 6 hydroxy group of the glycosidic moiety with malonic acid to form acidic malonates. And this malonic acid is provided with malonyl coenzyme A to form this acidic malonates. And because of the potential for multiple conjugation reaction, a single secondary metabolite, a glycan, can exist in the plant in multiple conjugated forms. These are multiple conjugated forms. And glycosylation has an important effect on the localization of secondary metabolites, since invariably glycoconjugates accumulate in the vacuole. This compartmentalized storage effectively renders the compounds inert, because when stored in the vacuole, the conjugates are separated from enzymes which can hydrolyze them to release the A-glycan. And the most important hydrolytic enzyme in the cytosol are the esterases. These esterases enzymes are most important, which can hydrolyze the secondary metabolites or a glycan to make them toxic again, to protect the plant or cell with the foreign bodies or pathogens when they are in need. And these esterases which hydrolyze malonyl and glycosidic esters and beta glucosidases which cleave the beta glucosidic ether bond between the sugar and a glycan. These esterases can separate this a glycan or secondary metabolites with their respective sugars. Sugar can be separated with these secondary metabolites to regain their toxicity. And these enzymes are highly active and exist in multiple isoenzymic forms which differ in the specificity towards the A-glycan and glycosidic moieties. and recently it has emerged that conjugates of secondary metabolites undergo active turnover. There is a little evidence that this turnover is regulated by the activity of the hydrolytic enzymes which are constituently expressed in the cytosol, and it now seems most likely that the rate of vacuolar import and export of conjugate conjugate control turnover. The mechanism of this conjugate shuttling remain obscure, though there is evidence that malonylation is an important determinant for vacuolar targeting. And interestingly, it now appears that a group of ATP binding cassette transporters for related to the transporter responsible for multiple drug resistance animal cells are located in the tonoplast membrane and play a major role in importing secondary metabolites into the vacuole. As you all know that the membrane of vacuole is known as tonoplast, and the ABC transporters or ATP binding cassette transporters are located in the tonoplast, which helps the secondary metabolites to import in the vacuole or export to the cytosol. So these cytosolic enzymes consist of complex family of isoenzymes showing specificity towards both their glycan substrates and the UDP sugar. In all case, glycosylation can consist of conjugation with a single sugar or can involve multiple sugars with each glycosidic residue being added subsequently. As I stated in earlier slide when explaining the flow chart of translocation of these secondary metabolites into vacuoles, and these an additional important modification is the esterification of 6-hydroxy group of the glycosidic moiety with the malonic acid to form acidic malonate. As I stated earlier, that's the 6th carbon of this sugar which have hydroxy group can react with the malonic acid to form acidic malonates. And because of the potential for multiple conjugation reaction, a single secondary metabolite, a glycan, can exist in multiple conjugated forms. And the glycosylation has an important effect on the localization of secondary metabolites, since invariably glycoconjugates accumulate in the vacuole. This compartmentalized storage effectively renders the compounds inert, because when stored in the vacuole, the conjugates are separated from enzymes which can hydrolyze them to release. See in this slide egg glycans. These are ATP binding cassettes or ABC transporters, which can help a glycan or secondary metabolites to move inside the vacuole. Or you can see these non-toxic metabolites which react with esterases enzymes to form inert secondary metabolites, because these are non-specific toxins, and when there is need in the plant of these secondary metabolites to react with pathogens or any other foreign bodies, these can hydrolyze with esterases to release in the cytosol, and they can act on the foreign particles or foreign bodies. And you can see these ATP binding acids which help these secondary metabolites to move inside vacuole or to move outside the vacuoles. And as I stated earlier, The most important hydrolytic enzymes in the cytosol are the esterases, which hydrolyze malonyl and glycosidic esters, and beta glucosidases, which cleave the beta glycoside ether bond between the sugar and A glycone. These enzymes are highly active and exist in multiple isoenzymic forms, which differ in their specificity towards the A glycone and glycosidic moieties. And interestingly, it now appears that a group of ATP binding acids, this is very important point to be remembered, that these ATP binding acids or ABC transporters are located on toloplast, related to the transporters responsible for multiple drug resistance in animal cells, are located on the tonoplast membrane and play a major role in importing secondary metabolites into the vacuole. So these secondary metabolites should be stored in vacuole in inert form, because they are very poisonous to cell, because they perform autotoxicity if they are in active form. So these should be stored in vacuoles in inactive form with the help of esterases or glycosyl transferase enzyme.